I think that so many people are scared by the question of how are you going to impact the world? But I think that also so many people want to impact the world. The problem is they don't know how to impact the world. See, impacting the world doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to come up with the cure for AIDS or cancer, or you're going to solve, the problems and the wars in the Middle East or the wars even around the world. But impacting the world can be as simple as impacting someone's life. Because see, you're changing their world. And when you change their world, you change your world. And there's 4 keys to doing so. There's courage. There's authenticity, vulnerability, and grit. That's how you impact someone's world. That's how you help out your neighbor. Think about the story of the Good Samaritan. So many people passed up this man that was broke down on the side of the road. But here comes this Samaritan. And the Samaritan chose to help. That Samaritan impacted that broken down traveler's world. How are you going to impact the world?
Welcome to the Conquer Life podcast, hosted by the coolest dynamic duo husband and wife team since Uncle Phil and Aunt Viv, Corey and Topanga, and even George and Weezy. Bringing you life experience, knowledge, wisdom, and insight to help you in your own life journey. This is the Conquer Life podcast with Trey and Autumn Hollis.
In episode 21, we're talking about how to impact the world through courage, authenticity, vulnerability, and grit. Welcome back to the Conquer Life podcast. We skipped a week, the holiday week, the Christmas week. It was also my birthday last Wednesday, December 23rd. So we decided to do a double header for you so that we can stay on schedule and round out 2015. And as you heard, we're going to be talking about how to impact the world. But before we get into that, what do we want to start with?
Highs.
Are we doing highs and lows?
They're just going to be highs.
Just high, that's right. I know, right? Okay, yeah, no lows. Because we don't focus on lows. We focus on Home Depot. No, just kidding. Just kidding. Lowe's and Home Depot, they're both good. I go to both of them. Highs, go.
Oh, crap, you put me on the spot. You know what? It's been actually just nice to be able to spend time with the kids and just rewind the, Why are you lifting your hands?
Because you need to lift your voice. Remember, that's one of the goals.
Spending time with the family during holiday break so far. Kind of dreading next week of going back, but right now, I'm enjoying it.
I can understand that. I would say that mine is pretty much the same. Just seeing the smile on the kids' faces, for Christmas, the gifts and whatnot. Also for me, being another year older, 39 now. I got carded today. That's crazy. I got carded. I had 2 of our kids with us, and it was Autumn and I at the grocery store, and I drink beer, and the lady said, "I'll have to see some ID," and I'm just looking at her like, "Are you?" I said, "I have my family here. Like, it's obvious I'm older than 21, but at 39, come on now."
Yeah, but see, again, for women, that's like awesome.
Yeah, but It's an insult to me.
It's not an insult.
To me, I'm embracing my elderly age.
Well, then you should have said, "Hey, can you see that one gray hair on my my mustache?"
Yes, I got some grays in my mustache this year. Yes, actually, I have 2 or 3, but I think that's pretty cool.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah, I have
4.
them, and I have a few in my chin too. So I embrace that though. So I have no problem with aging. So many, oh my gosh, I'm getting older. Blah, blah. Well, what are you doing? Like, you should embrace getting older, because if you're doing everything right, then you're aging like fine wine. Just go with the flow.
Yeah, but there's aging gracefully, and then there's like you got hit by a Mack truck and you look 20 years older than you really are.
Yeah, that's the tough part.
Yeah.
But I think though with age comes wisdom, if you should embrace it. And it comes, insight comes, and your worldview shifts. Well, for me, I'm not gonna say it for everybody. For me, my worldview has shifted. I have more concern for people. Again, that's why we do this show, for example. That's just one of the things that we do to illustrate. I mean, we genuinely care about people and want to assist and help others produce the life that they truly want to live. Because you don't want to get to 45 and say, oh my God, what the hell happened to my life? And tears, and I'm having a midlife crisis. And you don't want that. I don't want that. I want to go into my 40s and 50s feeling good about my life and about the direction of my life. So that's why I embrace aging, and that's my high. Those are my highs.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Spectacular.
So facetious.
Well, 'cause I'm just thinking about next year. Next year, when you actually hit the 40, you'll be in the 40s.
Hey, we gonna have a party like no other. That might even be a Keys trip. Florida Keys. If you haven't been, make it a goal to go. It's a pretty awesome place.
You won't want to come back.
I know you don't. You get down there and you have the beautiful water, and you go out on the boats, and you eat all the wonderful food at the restaurants, and you just chill and relax, and you don't want to go back home. But hey, we're trying to build that life to where we can stay. So, impacting the world.
Those are 4 great concepts
They are.
that you came up with, because even when I was reviewing them, I was sitting there thinking about how you impacted my world.
Speak on it.
Speak on it. I will. Your decision to go to school.
Oh, okay.
When you made that decision to go to school, I watched you for a while take on that task and tackle it. And it started to impact me first in just an uncomfortable type of arena, because you were advancing and growing and facing things, and I wasn't ready yet to become courageous, become authentic and vulnerable, and put down that grit. But eventually it started to make me shift and get myself geared up. So, it goes along with the intro where you're talking about how you're affecting just the person next to you, and how that can change the whole dynamic of what's going on, and what came out of that. We both went full force.
Yeah.
If you would have asked me 10, 15 years ago if I would have even went to college, I would have laughed.
Yeah.
But to even come on that other side where I'm looking at a freaking master's degree, and it's just mind-boggling. But it started with something as small as an impact, a change that you were doing for yourself, but it still influenced my decisions.
Yeah.
In its own time.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, iron sharpens iron. It's a trip too. I mean, as I think back to that, at one point in time, I was a one-day person. And what I mean by that was I kept that in my mind. One day I'm going back to school. One day I'm going back to school. One day I'm going back to school. And I truly meant it, though. Versus the one-day people who don't really mean it. You know, and I think that that's where that courage part comes into play, because you have to have the courage to step out and do what it is that you want to do. And a lot of times, the things that we want to do in life, they actually do impact someone's world. It's not just a self-serving, I'm about to make $1 million. No, a lot of times, what people put forth, whether it's entrepreneurs or whatever the case may be, it's an impactful advance. And I'm glad that you said that, and I'm humbled by you saying that. I mean, that's pretty darn awesome. I think along with that, I mean, you've impacted me as well. Just to become a better person, to become a better father, to become a better husband for the family. You know, we have goals and dreams, and we don't, like we've said before, you know, we've noticed, you know, with some people who, husband and wife teams who can't work together. That's bananas to me. I don't understand that. Husband and wives, we are supposed to work together. If it's in business, if it's in the household, and whatever the case may be, I think that we should, as husbands and wives, always be able to work together.
Well, yeah, because if you're building that future together, you have to work it together. You know, it's just like you're building a foundation for a house, and then you're putting brick by brick. You know, if you're not working as a team, and everyone's doing their own thing, what are you building? You're not building a thing.
Very true. Very true. So how can everybody impact the world around them?
Well, I think, you know, it starts off with authenticity. You have to be willing to...
Wait, time out. We going out of order?
Yeah, you know why?
No,
because
I know. But explain it, though.
I honestly feel that authenticity and vulnerability play into getting yourself prepared to have the courage and go for the grit.
I think it takes courage to have authenticity and vulnerability.
Well, I'm going to lay out my plan, and then you can explain yours.
I can't work with you.
Well, because I think you have to be willing to, you know, and it's going to interplay at the same time, but you have to be willing to be yourself. You have to be willing to be vulnerable. You have to be willing to have that self-awareness, to look in the mirror and say, what am I lacking?
Oh, so you have to have the courage to do all that.
You have to have the courage, yes. But again, they're interchangeable. They kind of play and feed off of each other.
No doubt.
And once you have that underneath your belt and you know what you're going for, and you have that courage to step out, the grit is just the work that comes after it.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of similar to the Conquer Life mindset fundamentals.
Yeah. You
know, action, grit. Grit is that perseverance. But doubling back to what you were talking about authenticity. Authenticity is, I think in this digital era that we're in, authenticity is somewhat fleeting. It's rare now. People they don't have the courage to truly be themselves, because everybody has to run around and put on this front of who they think that other people will like. And I think that's what's troublesome to me, because I think Chris Rock was talking about it. Like when you go to dating, for example, that first time you meet someone, you're not meeting them. You meeting a representative. You know, and that's just a reflection of what we deal with and handle even online in interactions with new people that we connect with and network with, a lot of times we aren't dealing with the true them. We're dealing with their representative, you know, and to be authentic, that doesn't mean you're faking it, or you're a faker, or you're a poser or whatnot. But to truly be authentic, that means just being you, whichever hat that you have to put on. In a professional setting, if you have to be the suit and tie guy or the suited up woman, then that's what you are. But be you, rather than pretending to, use big jargon and stuff like that. I mean, I think a lot of people sabotage themselves by pretending versus being authentic to who they truly are, no matter which hat you're wearing. When you're at home with your family, then you're in chill mode. Nothing wrong with that. What's up? You giggling?
Because I'm thinking about even when it comes to that, when we're at work at the university. 9 times out of 10, I'm in flip-flops. Why? Because that's authentically me. I rock the flip-flops. Doesn't matter what day, raining, sun or shine, unless it's super, super cold out.
Mm-hmm.
But every now and again, when I have to wear heels,
mm-hmm.
it's the most miserable day in the world. That I will wear the flip-flops to work, change into the heels for maybe about an hour, and then I'm like, okay, it's got to come off, because it's not authentically me. And that's just something as simple as that, something we put on, something that we feel comfortable, in our essence of being.
Yeah. But again, that goes back to switching hats, to serving the purpose that you have to serve at the time being. So when you have to throw on those heels, that's because typically you either have a meeting of some nature or something,
And I'm letting you know, I can't wait to get back to the office and put the flip-flops back
Yeah, but
on.
still, I mean, being authentic is still, you're being yourself. Whether it's in heels or flip-flops, you're still being yourself. You're just switching your hats, and you're still being yourself. I remember in undergrad, we talked about that. And it's a matter of being consistent in who we are. There's a time and place for everything. And a lot of times I think that some people just throw all of that out of the window and they put up this facade. And that's what we're talking about being authentic. Don't put up a facade, but rather just be you. Being you is allowing yourself to shine. And see, how does that impact the world? Well, being you helps to influence and give other people the courage to be themselves as well.
Indeed.
Instead of faking it. Fake it till you make it. I have never been a fan of that saying. That's nonsense.
That also will get a lot of people in trouble.
Yeah.
What about vulnerability? Do you think how much that actually plays into authenticity?
Well, I put vulnerability on there when I was thinking about, these 4 qualities of people who impact the world. Vulnerability made me instantly think of Brene Brown. And in Brene Brown's work, she's been all over the place lately with Chase Jarvis, Oprah. I think she's even had a discussion with Brendan Burchard, and possibly even Marie Forleo. I haven't checked out much of their content as of late, but Brene talks about vulnerability. And to be vulnerable is simply, that's to be an open book, not to be ashamed of who you are, not to be ashamed of that authenticity. And all of that requires courage. That's why courage is the first one, because courage is that foundation. That's where you springboard into these other qualities. And being vulnerable is being able to tell your story, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Take myself, for example. Telling my story in the book And it's brief, but I give you the quick version. But I mean, between the, you know, federal detention center and doing the things I did, and the family history of drugs and alcohol, and how I fell into all of that, and I mean, that's a huge moment of vulnerability. That's, a lot of people will try to hide those things, and I'm one who it's just like, you know what, hey, this is who I am, this is what I've been through, this is where I am now. Vulnerability. And again, vulnerability assists in impacting the world because you give other people the courage. It's almost like with your own actions of impacting the world through these four, you're giving other people a release, a freedom. You're passing on a freedom. You're paying it forward, that freedom for people to be themselves, to be proud of themselves, and to recognize what they have to offer to the world or to their local community.
Agreed. I was just thinking about even being vulnerable, you know, with friends. Oftentimes we can find it difficult, especially when you meet someone new and you're hanging out, and it takes you to a point to where you might have a certain lifestyle or things that you do, and they seem to maybe have the persona that they're not that way. And then when you step out and you have that courage and you find out there's more commonalities than you realized,
Yeah.
it starts to bridge so many more gaps and deepen the respect for each other.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that I really like being able to see. But, you know, it can be difficult. You know, I think the most important thing is being willing to accept yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, good, bad, and ugly.
Yeah. You're exactly right. And again, that goes into the courage. I mean, you have a great idea, right? And you want to share this idea with someone who could possibly bring this idea to fruition, to help you. You have to have the courage and the authenticity and the vulnerability to put your idea and your thoughts and yourself out there. Otherwise, it goes nowhere. And how can you impact the world? This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. But if you're hiding that light under a bush, how can you impact the world? You have to let your light shine.
Well, I think so many times that fear overrides everything. How do we get to a point? Because I know that we've done it, but to really pinpoint to where we truly decide to have that courage and knock the fear out, do we start to make those changes? You know, when it was me with the schooling, you know, there was a lot of childhood things that I had to wrap my head around and overcome. And it wasn't just a simple process. I decide to be courageous today, and I'm just going to go with it, and then voila. What advice would you give when you are wanting to make that change?
Direct advice I really don't necessarily like to give. I can give suggestions, but these suggestions are based upon my own experiences. And for me, it came down to not giving a boop. You just have to reach that level to where you don't give up a friggle fraggle. We're trying to keep the show censored, by the way. So, I mean, and I don't give up. I'm going to put this idea out here. I don't give up. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to go for it. I thought everything out, and, you know, this is a positive move. This is a positive direction. What's the worst that can happen? Oh, it doesn't go the way that I planned it to. Well, I'm going to adapt, and I'm going to make the changes necessary to reach the level that I want to reach. So I don't give up. Not anymore. See, and that's the thing about fear. Fear holds you back from saying, I don't give up. I'm going to go forward. That's just being 100% real with you. And I've told some people this before. You know, even when it comes to family and to friends and to the circle of people that you have, you know what? It sucks to have to cut off the negative and toxic people out of your life because you may have a blood relationship with them. You may have a long-standing friendship, but then when you come into this new light, that it's like, wait a minute, where is my life going? How are these people assisting in bringing my life to the level that I want to go? When you ask yourself those questions, then it's like, I got to kind of chill hanging out with such and such really doesn't have the same ambitions that I have. Now, that doesn't mean that I lose love for people. Nah, not at all. It doesn't mean that I lose love for doing things for people. No, not at all. But in order for me to achieve the goals that I personally have, which in the end are going to impact so many other people and help to uplift other people, I gotta say, I don't give a I don't give a It sounds harsh. I know it does. But again, for me and my experience, that's how I've had to deal and cope and gain the courage to move forward.
Well, see, and I know you don't see that as advice, but I think it's wonderful advice. You know why? Because you're basically telling people, don't let anybody get in your way of what you're trying to do in the path that you're trying to go for your life. And sometimes you need to get out of your own way as well.
Yes, that's the key. A lot of times we have to get out of our own way. And getting out of our own way is making the decision to go forward. You have to say, well, wait a minute, what am I doing here? What has been holding me back? Are we going to pull the blamer syndrome and say, oh, it's such and such fault. I haven't been able to reach the plateaus of life that I've wanted to. No. You have to stop and say, wait, whoa. This is on me. This is my decision to do this, that, and the other, instead of focusing on what I need to do to get to this goal that I've put forth and put out there, like I really want to get to it. If you really want to get to it, your actions will speak louder than your words.
Bingo.
That's where courage comes from. That's where the authenticity comes from. Authenticity, like what I just said. Hey, it may sound harsh, but I'm giving you the real me. I don't give a Vulnerability. A lot of people know my past. Guess what? It's life. It's life. It's just like one of those little kiddie books. Everybody poops. It's life. It's life. It is part of life. And the poor decisions that I have made to get to this point, they are also conjoined with positive and great decisions.
Well, I think that's also very important because it goes to show of how powerful it can be. That process, that grit, that authenticity, that vulnerability can be just what the next person needs to hear because they're not at that level and they need the assistance to be able to see that they can be able to push on.
Yeah. And you know, the grit part, the grit is perseverance. That's pushing through the nonsense. People are going to tell you, oh, you can't do it that way. It's not going to work that way. What? Your way, you mean? So your way is the way I need to go. We've talked about that concept before. Your way is the way that I need to go, huh? No, not necessarily. There can be many other ways. And everybody who has found success, however they define success, has done it on their own terms. That's if they're keeping it real, if they're being truly authentic. So that grit is the perseverance. And that's to keep pushing through all of the obstacles, all of the roadblocks that come your way. Whether it's, funding, whatever it may be. Getting in touch with certain people, networking, whatever the case may be. And if there's something that you want to do, positive, if there's something positive that you want to do, it's up to you to get that courage up and get that grit up and just say, I don't give up. I'm going to go for it.
I find it just interesting, even the concept of how to impact the world. When we look at the concept of the world, it's so grandiose and overwhelming.
Grandiose.
Leave me alone. It can be very intimidating.
Daunting. Yes. Intimidating. Yes.
But I think when you scale back and you're looking at something and you bring it back down to your world and see how that you can slowly affect the people around you, it makes the whole concept doable.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, big picture, little steps, little stepping stones. There's this big picture. One day we want to have the Doers Foundation. And we want to really be able to impact people's lives, help them in training and gaining job skills and writing skills. All of these things. Help them out with day-to-day living. Help them out with childcare. Childcare is expensive, y'all. Y'all know this. Anybody that has kids out there, childcare is expensive. And unless you're making a good amount annually, childcare can really push people to make some drastic decisions. Well, I got to leave a kid with such and such, or I have to cut back my hours, or I have to do this, or childcare is expensive. But, that's the big picture, though. Doers Foundation. But guess what? We have to walk these small stepping stones, and we have to impact individual worlds, individual lives, in order to get to that big picture. And I think that a lot of people have to understand you got to take those little steps. What is it? You got to crawl before you can walk. That's not just a stupid saying. No, that's truth. Babies crawl before they can walk. Every now and then you might get the miracle Albert Einstein baby. It's just like 4 months. Oh, he just started walking. But for the most part, you got to crawl before you can walk. And that's how you impact the world. You impact the world on a small scale. Help out your neighbor. Somebody's sick down the road. Somebody's maybe pregnant or something. They can't, cook and stuff. You got a family down the road. They can't cook. Go deliver a meal. See a guy on the side of the road and it's pouring rain. Oh, wait, I have an umbrella. I can't necessarily give the person a ride because I have a full load right now with family, but I can at least give them an umbrella.
Sounds so familiar.
Impact your world. Because when you impact your world around you, you impact the world.
Excellent.
The Conquer Life podcast, ladies and gentlemen, this is part of a double header for December 30th of 2015. The last two shows. The next show that you can listen to will be episode 22. Out with the old, in with the new. And we're going to talk about celebrating 2015 and getting your mind right for 2016.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you'd like to close on?
Importance of leaving comments. You have questions, ask us. If you know somebody that can be able to use this information, share it.
Sharing is caring. Sharing is caring. Sharing is caring.
Especially during the holiday season, it's important to share.
Yes. So, impact your world. Get your mind right for 2016. Next episode coming up, the Conquer Life podcast with Trey and Autumn Hollis.
We out.
We out.